I would like to show you another game from this book that it's all about the idea that from a defensive position at a certain point you can turn it into a win or into an attack. There are many chapters, like refuting premature attacks, fighting blow by blow, regrouping. The chapter I'm showing you the book, the chapter I'm showing you the game is from chapter 5 about prophylaxis. Remember, this book has exercises at the end of each chapter, so it will test if you understood the lesson or not. Here we go. So chapter 5, prophylactic thinking, supplementary game 19.2. It was played between Bobby Fischer and Olicio Gadia at Mar del Plata 1960. Bobby Fischer obviously opened with e4, the best by test, right? And the continuation is c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, and knight f6, knight c3, e6. Okay, when there is this, we generally say that it's the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian. Bishop c4. I think this was one of the favorite moves by Fischer, and e6 is the answer by black. Bishop b3 and b5. Castle, bishop b7. And here there is a diagram. In the diagram, the author, Grandmaster Zenon, says 10 years after this game, in Fischer-Rubinetti, Palma de Mallorca, Interzonal 1970, white prefer 9 bishop g5. Okay, sorry, because sometimes they put the move just under the diagram that you don't see it if it's a move or the page number. Okay, so it was after bishop b7 there was f4. Okay, and here he said 10 years after this game, in reality Fischer played bishop g5, okay, and culminated with an extracted model of exploitation of a black king in the center with a thematic piece sacrifice on d5. Yeah, there are, like maybe we have seen in another video, always in the Sicilian there is this kind of knight takes d5 or knight d5 sacrifice that is kind of thematic. So he played knight f4, he played f4, knight c6, knight takes c6, bishop takes c6, and here I wish you guys to pause the video and try to guess the next move by Fischer. Okay. Obviously, to understand the next move by Fischer, you need to understand the role of the pieces. Every piece, especially when Fischer played, I think Tal or Gligorich said that Fischer pieces landed on the right square. No? So here you must understand the function of this, that is to attack this. But in order to attack this, you must remove what? You must remove this, right? So the next move by Fischer is f5. Okay, and in fact here it says white improves the prospects of a passive b3 bishop and effectively weakens the d5 square. Black usually compensates with other advantages, but here he won't manage to do that. So what does black do? He plays e5, bishop d3, and bishop e7. It seems here probably it was better to play this, and Grandmaster Zenon put a variation to show why. But in the game was played bishop e7. So after bishop e7, what do you play here? Again, the role of each piece is fundamental here. And I think Grandmaster Soltis wrote another book in which showed how Fischer gave away the right piece at the right moment. Here you want to conquer this. If you want to conquer this, you need at least to remove a defender, right? So the next move is bishop g5. But you say, why it's so good bishop g5? Because the idea is this. Generally, Grandmaster level players, they don't want to give up the bishop pair. Here I didn't see the game, okay? So I'm honest, I didn't see the game, but I understand that if he played bishop g5, since we know Fischer doesn't move the pieces just without thinking, but because he has thought at least 4 moves ahead, clearly bishop g5 is made to remove a defender and try to take control of d5. Okay, black continue with queen b6, check, king h1. I don't know if this move is really great, because maybe he wanted to play king h1, play g4, rook g1 and attack on that side, right? But let's see what happens. Yeah, and black castle on this side, and this is a problem, I think. Yeah. White now achieves the optimal strategic outcome for this structure. A powerful knight on d5 against a bad dark square bishop. So obviously, like I said, bishop takes f6. Fourth, one of the defenders of d5 is eliminated. The other is this one. Bishop takes f5, and now what do you think Fischer played? Right? You want to take control of d5. What do you think he played? He played bishop d5. Okay, and now another defender is exchanged. Let's note that generally black tries to avoid this sort of passive position by all means possible. The light square bishop can but rarely be exchanged, and generally an earlier b4 by black forces knight d5. White ends up with a strong d5 bishop, but this is less strong than a knight on the square. Very good. Okay. Rook a c8, bishop takes e6, rook takes e6, and now again I tell you, pause the video, try to guess what white played, because you must be very careful and think really well. Notice that one of the questions you should ask is what is called the Makogonov principle. Makogonov was one of the Soviet player, top Soviet player, maybe of the 1940s, I don't know, sorry I don't remember it. I hope you will find out. And the Makogonov principle said that you should find the piece which is the less active and bring it into the game. In this case he played rook a d1, but probably it was played to avoid queen d4. Okay, so rook f c8, so black is trying to create pressure on the c file. Knight d5, and of course now there is a great move in a sense that he avoids a trap, right? He plays queen f8, sorry, queen d8. Do you know what happens if he played queen d4? Queen d4 would have been a big blunder. Why? Because knight takes f6, g takes f6, and then queen g3, check, and that rook is going to collect the queen d4. So queen d4 cannot be played now, and that's why black played queen d8. White at this point plays c3, bishop e7, right? And here the author writes, after this move, bishop e7, he says, what should white play now? An attempt to attack on the king side would seem natural. The strong d5 knight, however, can be considered as only one advantage. White creates a second weakness with a less than obvious move. So here we go in a thing that should have been taught you by watching Capablanca's games. Capablanca had this thing of creating one weakness, no? So this is strong and creates a weakness, and then in order to win the game you need another weakness on another side of the board in order to make the position totally crash, no? Because your opponent will not be able to defend both sides at the same time. So what is the move that white will play now? The move is rook a1. So he created a weakness in the center and it works, and now he's trying to go on the queen side. Black plays f6, which means this is a pawn at this point. It's not a bishop anymore. It's just a pawn with a tall hat. a4. Black made now a grass error which saved him from a painful defensive task, but he had a few chances of salvation anyway. So what do you think was the crass error? Well, he played rook b8, and after rook b8 there was the final move of the game. Can you imagine what it is? The final move of the game is knight takes e7, and you say, why it's the final move? Because after this queen d5 check, and this is over, right? So I thank you very much for watching. The game was exciting. Unfortunately it ended badly because the black player clearly wasn't at Fischer level, and in fact this was a kind of miniature. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. See you next time.